everybody. Today we're going to talk about our friendly little flowers, the dandelions. And I know you're all familiar with those, but there's a lot to be said about dandelions. First of all, there weren't any growing here, but it's been raining for the last 2 or 3 days. And I came out here this morning, this is my backyard, and up they popped. And that's one thing about dandelions that you can depend on, that if nothing else grows, you're always going to see a dandelion. Really, no matter where you go in the world, there's some species of dandelion available, except maybe Antarctica, but in our temperate zone. So the name for dandelion, the Latin name, is Taraxacum officinale. That's our western common dandelion, and I'm going to show you why that's so. So if you look down here, I want to show you the leaves. Okay, can you see that leaf? I'm just going to take it off and show you the leaf. And the common name for this is dandelion, as you all know, and the French name for dandelion is Dandelion, which means lion's tooth, and that is one of the common names of dandelion. And you can see that's well named because of the jagged leaf, and this is very characteristic not only of dandelions but of other plants in the same subtribe, we'll call it, or subfamily as dandelions. So the lion's tooth. And it might seem obvious to you, but it's really important to check out the leaves, because when the flowers aren't blooming and you might want some leaves, you need to be able to recognize them. So let's go down and look at how they're growing in the ground. This is, if you can see, I've picked this one out because if you check it out, these leaves are all growing out from a common center. And this formation of this leaf arrangement is called a rosette. So that is one of the clues for dandelions. They grow in a rosette. And if you're seeing them out in the woods or in a lawn with a lot of other things growing in them, one of the ways to know that you've identified the real thing is to look for that rosette formation. Dandelions are in the Asteraceae family, commonly called the daisy family, and it's other than orchids, which are the most prevalent and have the most species of all the families, the orchid family. The next one up in terms of quantity of plants is the aster family. But within the aster family, there are a lot of subfamilies, and dandelion belongs to the chicory family. And chicory is a plant that has these pretty blue leaves or blue flowers, and you'll notice if you look at chicory, you'll see that it has the jagged kind of leaf as well. Another plant in the chicory subfamily that you may know about is wild lettuce. And wild lettuce also has jagged leaves that have a lot of prickles on them as well. So here we have dandelion. And another thing about this leaf that I wanted to tell you about, in terms of all parts of the dandelion are edible and used for medicine. And the leaf is known as a diuretic. And one of the nicknames or common names for dandelion is pisson en lit, which means piss in the bed in French. And that's because the leaves make you pee. And this is really very useful in situations where there's water retention or edema or some kind of damp heat situation. anything that will help, that this would be very helpful for that situation. Another herb that I talked about in another video was Poria Fu Ling, and that's also a diuretic. So the other thing about these leaves is that they're known as spring tonics, and they're filled with vitamins and minerals, and they can be gathered, well-crafted for salads and eaten raw. And they're kind of bitter. This one really tastes good. The least bitter of the leaves are the small ones when they're very young, before the flowers have come out. But as a spring tonic to put in your salads raw, leaves are terrific. Another way you can use a leaf, you can cook them, and you can that's known as a pot herb, where you can cook them in a little garlic and butter in the frying pan, and if it's too bitter for you, you can put in a little vinegar, which cuts the bitterness, that kind of taste. So as far as the energetics of the leaf, it's cooling, it's drying because it makes you pee, so when you need to dry something up, that would be useful. And it's also very nutritious, filled with chlorophyll, vitamins, and minerals. So the leaf makes it just a winner in the spring before the flowers come out. And now we're going to go and look at this plant again and see what else we've got going. So as you can see, obviously, they've got these bright, happy yellow flowers. And this is a common type of flower in the daisy family, and it is another older name for it. They changed the name to Asteraceae, which is in the aster. They're asters, but the old name was Compositae. And the reason for this, I'm going to pick this flower and show you, is that each of these leaves is actually a flower, or each of these petals is actually a complete flower with a stamen and the ovary down below, and the stamen is the male part, ovary is the female part. So each little petal or ray flowers are flowers in themselves. So they're kind of complicated botanically. That's very interesting. Some daisies have a center. These don't have a center. These are all ray flowers. But what happens when these start folding up, you've seen a dandelion that folds up like this. This ends up being one of those fun little puff balls that you see all over, and each of those little puffs is actually develops into a seed, and it can germinate. So dandelions spread like crazy. If you look at the back part of these, you will see that there are these little green things, and those are known as sepals. And they're really modified leaves. And this is another characteristic of the daisy family. And if that weren't enough, these also have hollow leaves, or hollow stems. You can see that the stem is hollow. And you see that white stuff around the edge of the stem? That's latex. And this is often used, this latex in here is often used for to cure warts. So that's another handy little piece of dandelion knowledge. The flowers are used, you can make a sun oil out of the flowers. They're used for all kinds of things. You can put them raw in your salads along with the leaves. You can make them into salves to heal wounds and cuts and things of that sort. And people have made dandelion wine out of it. They use it for vinegars, all kinds of things for the flowers. So those are uses for both of these. And then I want to talk about the roots. So let's go back down here to the ground. And I didn't dig one up, but these roots, as you might probably know, gardeners don't like this plant around. These roots go way, way down. They're called tap roots. So they're very hard to get at. But if you carefully dig around this plant and dig up a root, the roots are also good medicine. So I don't have a root to show you, but dandelion roots are, dandelion in general is known as a liver herb. It screams liver. And so it's used for detoxification and to what's called the phase 2 liver detoxification pathway. It stimulates that. It's a liver stimulant, and which is a very yang action in Chinese medicine. And it's also a liver restorative, which is more yin. By the way, in terms of Chinese medicine, there's another species that grows in China, and it's called Taraxacum mongolicum, and that's the species that they use in China. There's actually about 250 species of dandelions throughout the whole world, and they're all very useful and have very similar medicinal properties. So the root is just indispensable. The leaves are great for using to get rid of water. And the other thing about dandelion, it's very useful for diabetes, because one of the chemical constituents in dandelions are this substance called inulin, which is really a polysaccharide. It's a sugar, and what it's known as is something that restores the gut, a prebiotic. It feeds the friendly bacteria in the gut. So this is a problem with a lot of diabetics, because their metabolism is not working that great in terms of sugar. And so inulin, so dandelion root and leaf would be a great addition to a formula for a diabetic. It wouldn't be the primary herb, but it would definitely be a good secondary herb because of its liver restorative qualities and its helpfulness with metabolism. So there you have it. The root, the leaves, the flower, all useful, even the latex from the stem. So this is a wonderful plant. And one word to tell you about this is that when you wildcraft any plant, make sure that you're getting it at least 50 feet or 75 to 100, well, yards really. It has to be away from the street. You don't want any fumes from cars or toxins getting into the plant. And make sure that the place that you collect it from is there's no fertilizers on there. And here in my backyard, this has never been touched in terms of fertilizers. So that's why, probably one of the reasons the soil isn't that great. But dandelions love it. So that's our little talk about dandelions, and they're a wonderful, wonderful plant to start out with when you're just beginning your herbal journey, because everybody knows them. So have fun with Dandelion and collect them all through the spring for your salads. Thank you so much.